Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. This side Kapil, your host, and today I am going to present you a very important news, which is Iran issues sweeping new demands to reopen Strait of Hormuz as Pentagon scrambles to replenish depleted weapons stockpiles. Now, basically, Tehran has issued a dramatic set of new conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil choke point, even as the Pentagon pushes US defense contractors to dramatically accelerate weapons production after 5 months of wars, have drained American military stockpiles to critical lows. Now, Iran's Supreme National Security Council it laid out its demand on Saturday, insisting the waterway would remain closed until America's correct its behavior. Now, the conditions include an end to hostilities on all fronts, the lifting of a US counter blockade on Iranian ports, the termination of sanctions, the release of frozen assets, and full compensation for wartime damage. Terms that eco June memorandum, which includes a provision for a 300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC) doubled down on Sunday, declaring the strait a threat of war for us and not just a waterway. So Iranian officials said negotiation with Oman over future administration of the strait were approaching the final stages, but made clear that any bilateral deal would not automatically reopen the waterway to international traffic without US concession. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is confronting an uncomfortable reality. The war with Iran has burned through munitions stockpile at an alarming rate. Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Finberg sent an August 5 memo to major defense contractors, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and RTX, giving them just 21 days to submit plans to drive significantly faster, more aggressive delivery schedules or increase production for critical capabilities. Years long development cycles are not acceptable, Feinberg wrote. So we must dramatically accelerate our program schedules and expand our production capacity now. The urgency is driven by stark numbers. So basically, the urgency is driven by stark numbers. The global inventory of Patriot missile interceptors has plummeted from roughly 2,200 before the war to fewer than 827, while third interceptor stocks have fallen from 453 to less than 278, according to analysis from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The US Army has reportedly exhausted virtually all of its long range precision missile ATCMS and precision strike missile during the conflict. Now, President Donald Trump publicly dismissed reports of shortages, claiming the United States has a virtual unlimited supply of missiles. But behind closed doors, tensions have flared. The Washington Post reported that Trump clashed with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at Camp David over the depletion, with the president demanding to know why the problem had not been fixed. Now, the Pentagon has already moved to lock in production, awarding Lockheed Martin a record 58.6 billion contract to scale up Patriot interceptor manufacturing through 2030 and seeking 18.2 billion in supplemental funding for missile interceptors. Now the department is also pursuing framework agreements with Northrop Grumman and other firms to expand production capacity. Now we have to, if we analyze this thing, a high stake game of chicken. Tehran leverage is real and it is growing. So what is there? Iran's decision to tie Hormuz reopening to sweeping political and economic concessions represents a calculated escalation in bargaining power. The strait handles roughly 20% of global oil shipments, and its effective closure since early 2026 has sent energy prices soaring, creating a political headache. Creating a political headache for the Trump administration as November's midterm elections approach. By separating the Oman's management deal from the actual reopening, Iran is executing a classic diplomatic two step, securing institutional control over the waterway while maintaining economic pressure on the global stage. The demand for tolls and administrative control directly challenges international law, which generally forbids such fees on international straits. But Iran appears willing to test that boundary. Now, guys, the munition crisis on part of America's Achilles heel. The Pentagon frantic push to accelerate weapons production reveals a strategic vulnerability that Iran has successfully exploited. The cost asymmetry is staggering. Iran can field a $50,000 Shahid drone that forces the US to to expend 4 million Patriot or $12 million third interceptor. Over 5 months, the math has consumed inventories meant to deter multiple adversaries simultaneously. Now, the depletion has real world consequences. With Patriot and THAAD stocks critically low, US forces and Middle Eastern allies may be forced to take more risk to conserve those air defenses, now potentially allowing more Iranian missiles and drones to get through. Now, guys, this also limits Washington's ability to respond to contingency elsewhere, particularly in the Indo Pacific. Now, let's talk about Trump's low key strategies, patience or paralysis. So, the president public posture, we are low keying it, masks a fundamental strategic dilemma. So Trump is betting that Iran's crumbling economy, hyperinflation, and lack of hard currency will force Tehran to fold before American voters feel sustained pain at the pump. But this assumes Iran's leadership prioritizes economic stability over regime survival, a questionable premise for a revolutionary government that has weathered decades of sanctions. Now, the disconnect between Trump's public confidence and private frustration over munitions shortages suggests the administration is more constrained than it admits. With a $1.15 trillion defense spending bill stalled in Congress, the Pentagon's ability to rapidly rebuild stockpiles faces political headwinds. Now, guys, the Oman factor, which is a fragile bridge, Oman role as a mediator is critical but increasingly precarious. While Iranian Foreign Minister Mr. Abbas Araghchi claimed talks on strait management were nearing completion, Oman's foreign ministry has condemned the repeated attacks on shipping. Now, without naming Iran, and warned against actions jeopardizing progress. Muscat is walking a tightrope. It needs a stable hormuz for its own economy, but cannot afford to seem as a legitimizing Iranian control over an international waterway. So, what probably can happen next? So, the scenarios which actually can happen is negotiated compromise. The US quietly accept some Iranian demands, perhaps partial sanction relief or asset releases in exchange for a phased reopening. Now, this would require Trump to soften his public stance, something he has resisted. Now, what is prolonged stalemate thing? Both sides dig in. Now, Iran maintains its blockade. The US relies on strategic petroleum reserves and alternative routes. Now, global energy markets adjust, but at the cost of sustained inflationary pressure. Now, guys, military escalation. Now, if talks with Oman collapse or Iran strikes another major tanker, the US may feel compelled to launch direct operations to secure the strait. Now, a risky proposition with depleted interceptor stocks and Iranian missile batteries dug in along the coast. Now, the coming weeks will test whether Tehran's maximalist demands are an opening bid or a hard line. For now, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the weapons stockpiles remains empty, and the world watches two adversaries measure who will blink first. So thanks a lot for this session. I'll come you with the next report in this line. Thanks a lot. Love you a lot. Salute.